We're taking Yao Ming and giving his career to Victor Wembanyama. His goal is to do what Yao never could, but he only has until the age of 30, since that's when Yao Ming retired. Heading back to 02, a 19-year-old Wemby would be selected #1 by the Houston Rockets, and immediately, he was making an impact. His rookie year was a chance to showcase his skills, and that he did. With no stars on the roster, Victor had the opportunity to develop and was given the green light by his coach. He ended his rookie season with averages of 19 points, 10 rebounds, and nearly 3 blocks a game. Not only was he the rookie of the year, but he was also an all-star and made the All-NBA second team. His individual stats were impressive, but his team's record was the complete opposite. The Rockets only finished with 36 wins and ended the season as the 10th seed in the Western Conference. But that's okay because, although they failed to make the playoffs, the future was looking bright in Houston. In Victor's second season, he got even better. His nightly averages rose to 25, 12, and 3, and he was making a case for himself as the best young center in the league. After his sophomore season, the Rockets finished 6th in the West, and in his first playoff series, Victor was beating the 3rd seeded Phoenix Suns. In this heightened environment, Victor played his heart out. No one had the height nor skills to stop him at the rim, but he alone wasn't enough as Phoenix won the first 2 games at home. In game 3, Victor had a near triple-double, putting up insane numbers. But even when he got the team involved, the Suns still came out on top by a point in overtime. And now down 3-0, their defeat was inevitable. Victor had an amazing series. However, the Rockets were unfortunately eliminated after game 4, and Victor was heading home after a first-round exit. After an embarrassing loss, instead of going on vacation, Wemby devoted his offseason to perfect his craft. Not only did he work on his offensive game, but he also improved as a rim protector. And heading into year 3, 21-year-old Victor was already a 95 overall. Not only was he blossoming into an NBA superstar, but he was now also playing with one as the Houston Rockets signed Tracy McGrady. With finally now having some help, Victor and T-Mac would set the NBA on fire. Their chemistry through the season was insane, and they led Houston to the 2nd seed. Wemby Yao also won his first Defensive Player of the Year award, proving his sacrifices were worth it. As a 58-win team, we all expect them to go far in the playoffs, but they were off to a rough start. The 7th-seeded Memphis Grizzlies were holding their own. That's probably because Pau Gasol was averaging 8 more points in this series than his 21 in the regular season. Victor Wembanyama was looking like a fraud. Many said that he shouldn't have won his Defensive Player of the Year award, but this lit a spark, and the next 2 games would see the Rockets coming out on top. They were advancing to the 2nd round, but they matched up against the Minnesota Timberwolves and seasoned veteran Kevin Garnett. The Rockets started this series off by winning game 1, but they soon crumbled and lost the next 3 games. Backs against the wall, the star duo of Houston came out and scored 30 each, but it still wasn't enough as the T-Wolves won game 5. Although Victor was getting sent home again, it was progress compared to past seasons. In this offseason, Victor put in even more hours of work to improve his game, and this hard work paid off for sure because now he's a 96 overall, and pairing this giant with McGrady was terrifying for defenses. Night in and night out, these two were torching teams, finishing the season with 62 wins. Not only was Wemby selected as an all-star starter, but he also won both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. The only thing that could make this season more historic would be a championship. And facing the 8th-seeded Warriors only gave them more momentum. They were advancing after 6 games, but McGrady was up for a high left ankle sprain, which would leave him out for the next series. But this is when he was needed most. They ran into the defending champions San Antonio Spurs, and this series would be the Battle of Texas. The Spurs came to Houston and stole game 1 in overtime. In game 2 though, the Rockets bounced back and tied this series at 1 game each. But without McGrady, the series began to lean in the favor of San Antonio. They won the following 2 games at home, then stomped over the Rockets in Houston to advance even further. If it wasn't for McGrady's injury, we might have seen the two bring home a title. To start the 07 season, the Rockets were on a roll. They began the year 14-6, while looking like they might be the best team in the league. But after this 20-game stretch, Victor would see an injury that postponed his play and kept him out the remainder of the season. Without him, the Rockets finished as the 8th seed, just barely inching their way into the playoffs. Luck just wasn't on their side. Victor would come back, but he wasn't 100%. And just like the last season, they were facing the Spurs. But with Wemby not playing to his usual standards, as well as having a minutes restriction, the Spurs won game 1, then 2, then 3, and eventually, they were going home after getting swept in the first round. The Rockets needed a change badly, so Victor gave himself a new look. This marked the beginning of a new era in Houston. The team was finally healthy, and it's time for them to make a run to the finals. With the stars being available all 82, and the new hiring of head coach Rick Adelman, the Rockets won an impressive 62 games and finished 2nd in the Western Conference. Victor's numbers also had a major increase with the new system, earning him another MVP and Defensive Player of the Year season. Now Now, he certainly had to win a championship and go down as an NBA legend. In the first round, they were matched up against the Clippers, and this wouldn't be a problem as the Rockets would sweep them. In the second round, this is where they usually begin to struggle. They were against Kobe, Powell, and the nerve-wracking environment of the Staples Center. But at home in Houston, the Rockets started well, winning the first 2 games and got an early lead. And this was all they needed to get going, as they won Game 3 as well in LA. While the Lakers did win Game 4, they were already done for. Game 5 was a blowout win for Houston, and they were advanced to Victor's first ever conference finals. And here, we meet the Denver Nuggets, who had Carmelo Anthony and Allen Iverson. This scoring duo had been nearly unstoppable all season, and their spot as the first seed spoke for itself. But that meant nothing against the Rockets, where they came to Denver and burglarized not just 1 game, but 2 in the city. Victor then went on to score 37, winning Game 3, and Denver was now on fraud watch. Would the first seed get swept after coming so far? Our questions will be answered in Game 4, where the trio of Melo, AI, and JR all scored 30 plus, bringing this series to 3-1. But then they went home to Denver and won Game 5, taking the series at 3-2. Wemby Yao had just shot 6 for 26, and the Rockets were on a downward spiral. I say that because Iverson scored 54 in Game 6, and what was once a 3-0 lead became a 3-3 series tie heading into a Game 7. The stakes were high. If Victor chokes a 3-0 lead, he can never redeem himself. This would be a legacy game for our superstar, and he certainly did not disappoint. He played 40 minutes, scored 50 points, and single-handedly saved the city of Houston from utter embarrassment. The Rockets were finally in the finals, and many saw them as favorites to win the series.
Those two have the ingredients that it takes to deliver the trophy.
Wemby and McGrady played amazing basketball at home. Their shot-making abilities combined was just too much for the Magic. The series has shifted in the hands of Houston by Game 2, where they led 2-0, but we can't count the Magic out just yet. They fought back at home, and the series now looked winnable for both teams. Just when we thought Victor had an edge, it was quickly flipped. The Magic won Game 5, and now the Rockets were in a panic. Down 2-3, they had to win. And that's exactly what they did, pushing to a Game 7. And here, Wemby had a historic performance. 48 points, 4 steals, 5 blocks, and a win, finally earning the title NBA champion. However, while they just won a ring, the next season was the start of a complete fall off. The Rockets started the season on a good note, but McGrady would break his jaw and miss most of the regular season. Without his co-star, Wemby stepped up and was now averaging 32 points a game. 2009 was a shaky year for Rockets fans, conclusively ending with 52 wins and the 5th seed in the Western Conference. Furthermore, Wemby won his 4th Defensive Player of the Year award, something we all expected to happen with his stature. But in the first round, they were playing Chris Paul and the Hornets, and let's just say they weren't messing around. Without T-Mac, Victor was getting swept, and things got even worse in 2010 since the Rockets were moving on from the duo of Wembanyama and McGrady. Tracy was getting shipped to New York, and Victor's best teammate was now a premature Kyle Lowry. They just barely made the playoffs as the 8th seed and were against the Lakers, who just won 60 games. The Lakers won Game 1 at home, but then something odd happened. The Rockets won Game 2, then 3, and 4. They were now up 3-1 against the first seed, but that didn't last long as LA crawled out the hole by the hands of Kobe Bryant. Heading into a Game 7, the series was one for the ages. Kobe and Victor went bucket for bucket, scoring 45 points each. But at the end of it all, the Rockets were advancing. But this miraculous run would be short-lived as they then faced the Denver Nuggets and got swept by Carmelo Anthony. And that would be the last playoff basketball the Rockets would see for a while, as the following 2 seasons ended with a total of 115 losses. And wasting these 2 years of his career wasn't ideal since Victor's retiring after the 2014 season. It's currently 2013, where the Rockets acquired young star James Harden, finally giving Victor a good teammate. And with this new dynamic duo, they turned back time, winning 59 games. Victor won his 3rd MVP and 5th Defensive Player of the Year award, and Harden won Most Improved Player. And on their way to the finals, they beat the Jazz in 5 games, Memphis in 7, and then battled the Mamba in Los Angeles. And although I did say battle, it was more of a massacre since the Rockets won in 5. There was now just one challenger left, and that's the King, who's currently playing in South Beach. And that's also where the series started, with Miami taking the first game, but in Game 2, the duo of James Harden and Victor Wembanyama took over. They didn't stop there, taking Game 3, and then won Game 4. And while the Heat did win Game 5, recovering to 3-2, they would fumble the next game, and the Rockets were once again NBA champs. And with 1 season remaining, old man Victor wants to go back to back, and if he does, there's no doubt that he'll be named the greatest Rocket of all time. And in his final season, Wemby was going out with a bang. He averaged 28 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists on a 63-win team, and was once again the first seed. And per usual, the playoffs were a repeat of last year, seeing the Rockets sweep Memphis, beat Oklahoma City in 5, Minnesota in 6, and faced a very young and inexperienced Wizards squad in the finals. But there's only so much you can do when your best player is a 23-year-old John Wall, and the Rockets won in 5 games. Victor's definitely the greatest Rocket of all time now, but But what if we took the greatest player of all time and restarted his career from scratch? Click on this video and let's follow his journey.